Was there a lot of churches in town?
There's a lot of churches in
Yeah.
town. Yeah, but most of them are like Mayan Christian.
Yeah.
What is that?
Not
They are-
something good.
There's just something. You have to do it.
Mayan
to see it.
Christian. Is that Mayan? Like the
Mayan,
Mayans?
the Mayan indigenous, yeah.
Indigenous. Most of them are like in a good way, but most of them are so mixed. So
Yeah,
we
so-
have several churches, like a lot of churches, and some of them are good. Some of them are like they have their own things with the gospel. Mostly the big churches,
Okay.
the most common churches, you know, and the churches have allowed that. So it's something so interesting to see.
Yeah. So,
But
no, you're good.
oh yeah, so it's hard to find like a church that is focused on the Lord, like
Yeah.
not having the cultural thing like an influence on it. So it was a long trip, like for us, like 4 years to find a church, a good church to serve.
But you knew that those weren't it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So can you explain this a little bit?
Yeah,
What a
yeah,
Mayan church
I can
is?
explain it.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things that we struggle with Hueva or with Guatemala in general is the mixture of the Mayan indigenous beliefs.
Okay.
So up until really
Is this just Guatemala or is this like the surrounding countries as well?
surrounding countries
Surrounding
as well.
countries.
For sure in Mexico, El Salvador, they have a lot of this as well.
Okay.
And so basically, for example, there's a lot of Catholicism. That's in Central South America.
Yeah.
Catholicism is the predominant denomination. But instead of our version of Catholicism, which has its own, ritualistic beliefs at times, theirs is very similar, but it's twisted with Mayan indigenous beliefs. So they, Mary is their idol, but they also have other idols a lot of the time in the Catholic churches. And so these idols have come from Mayan beliefs. So they, if you're not aware, Mayans believe in all kinds of gods. They
Like the
believe
sun
in
god
the
and stuff.
sun
Yeah,
god,
yeah.
the rain god, there's all harvest god. There's all kinds of different gods that they believe in, and there's still people today that believe in that. It's definitely going away,
Yeah.
but it's still there. And we have Mayan ruins in Guatemala and Mexico. People still worship there. People still go and they pray, and we've been there whenever people have been doing that, and you feel like it's so far away,
Yeah.
but it's still a thing,
Yeah.
which is very tied to witchcraft and things like that as well.
Yeah.
And so within the churches, it's hard to find a church that is gospel driven, that is focused on Jesus Christ as the Savior and God as the only God, because of the twisted beliefs of their history, which if we look in our history, we see things like that as well. Things are slowly progressing, but they're even more behind. So they're slowly becoming more evangelical, slowly becoming more gospel centered. But even with the evangelical churches and the more charismatic, movements, there's still so many twists.
Yeah.
And that Mayan culture is so ingrained in a lot of what they do in Guatemala and in
Yeah.
Mexico as well. And all over with the Mayan, the Inca, and the Aztec. Those beliefs and that culture is so deeply rooted.
Yeah.
And so that is part of what we do, is we try to undo what has been done all these years, because that's the only way to stop a cycle of poverty of the heart, mind, and spirit, and all of the above, the body. It's that you have to stop what's been happening over and over.
Yeah.
And so for them, that was a huge struggle. And then there's also a lot of competition with churches in Guatemala, in Hueva specifically. So there might be tons of churches, but there's a lot of competition, and it's
Competition to get people in the doors, or what do you
yeah, almost like a
Sometimes
jealousy.
feels like that.
Yeah, almost like a jealousy of, if you're not at our church, you're not at a church. If our church is the church, stay here, stay with us. And because it's a smaller town too.
Yeah.
So that is kind of that balance. So there's a mix of stuff
Yeah.
going on. And so anyway,
Yeah, that's something that we loved about that organization we were serving, because it is not from a church. It's just like people from all the churches
Yeah.
coming together to share testimony about what God did. So that's what we loved.
Yeah.
And it took us a while to find a church. To find a church with that same philosophy.
Yeah.
We would say that whoever is welcome. You know, if you go to another church, awesome. If you
Yeah.
want to visit, awesome. But serve the Lord. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever
that was
you
our
do.
vision.
Mhm.
And yeah, we found that church and serving there is where we
Yeah.
met.
It makes sense that you know, because like history of America, a bunch of Christians come over, but our nation's only a couple hundred years old.
Yeah.
So we don't have to deal with 1,000 years of people like trying to figure out religion and,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like have generations that are just like, what is Jesus? Like they haven't heard about it for 800 years, you know, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
they're being introduced to the gospel, whereas our foundation in America was founded on it. So it's like, it's part of our culture immediately.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you guys had, like you said, you had to work on how to get through that. So you worked through it by like staying in sort of a multi-denominational organization
Yeah.
until you were able to find a place that was able to breathe life into what you guys were doing in Christ and Hoiba. So when you found this church, how did it interact to the point where you guys were helping with Send Me, or that you met each other?
Yeah, talk about your youth group a little and how that started.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would be a good start.
We were part of this branch of the church because the main church is in the city. So we were part of this branch. And a friend and I, because we serve in couples, so this friend and I, we had a group, and the group started grow so much. And the leaders got jealous about it. Speaking about the jealousy of the churches. Instead of being happy that we were bringing a lot of young people to the church, they were jealous that our group had more group than the leaders. So
Yeah, well, that's
They're-
still churches today still
Yeah.
feel that way. So
yeah, so they started to make us a little bit apart
Oh, that's too
to
bad.
the point that they were like, or you do what you're doing or you stay with us. We're like, what? What is that request? You know?
yeah,
And we couldn't stop. So there was a point where we had to quit from that church. And but the guys we had in the group just called us like, are we doing the group this week? Are we doing the group this week? We only rest for 1 week. I said rest because we didn't do
Yeah.
the youth group. But I called my friend like, we cannot leave these people like that because they come with us. They might not feel comfortable at church, so we keep doing the group by ourselves for like 2 years or 3 years until we have the connection directly with the church. We found out that branch did not belong to church actually. So we got connected us to the church.
yeah.
So they cover us, and we just continued like a group, a youth group. We used to have the talent as an excuse to bring more young people. We found a gang. All the people say they were a gang, but we have some friends there, and we invited them to an activity. They loved that. They started to change their life. One of them is still with us 10 years later. Jose, he's our outreach leader.
Yeah.
He has a family. He has grown in the Lord, and we have a couple of those guys still with us 10 years later.
Yeah.
And we started growing and growing. We didn't fit in my house because we had our meetings, little services in my living room.
It's so cool.
Then we went to the second floor where we fitted like 60, 75 people in my house.
You had 60 or 75 people in your youth group?
Yeah. Then we were like, our leaders in the church in the city were like, yeah, we need to prepare you more in the ministry.
Yeah.
So they did it, and we looked for a bigger place to actually found a church, and we couldn't find any. But we didn't say anything. It was just my friend and I, because we were the only leaders. And one day, all of a sudden, my friend came running like 8 a.m., 7:30 a.m. I was sitting breakfast. I was like, Chepe was like, what are you fine? It was like, you won't believe what happened. I was like, what? Tell me so early and you're here. So this lady came. Remember, we didn't say anything to anybody. This lady came and said, do you need a big room for your youth group? I have one. We're like, sure, let's see it. It's a big room. We can fit 200 people there. We still have that place. It was just a old warehouse.
You still have it.
Yeah.
And we fix it. It's God that he's doing that. It was like raw block
Yeah, like concrete.
and people has come just like, oh, this need to be a, how do you say that?
Drywall.
Fixed,
Fixed.
covered.
Yeah, covered.
I'm gonna pay for that. And then it's like, you need more lights. Yeah, order them. I'm gonna pay for that. And
The same person or different people?
Different people, like random people that they maybe just come once or twice to church just to bless us. And the last one that is happening actually today, we have a really nice stage, and somebody came like, your stage is so cool, I'm gonna pay for the carpet.
Yeah.
So we're
Come on, somebody. You
I
can't
know.
make this stuff up.
It's amazing.
God is doing that, and we have from youth group, some of the parents started coming. So my friend's parents started to take some to take care of them because they were part of church. His dad actually is the one who invited my dad to this organization. So they're serving
awesome.
now with families. My friend is serving with youth. We have a bunch of people in the teams. We have a lot of people, almost like 200
I
people
would
at our
say, yeah.
church.
And it's multi-generational now.
It's
I mean, they have
multi-generational.
children's ministry. They have stuff for the adults, stuff for young adults, stuff for teenagers, all of the above. They have groups several nights of the week.
That's
Oh,
amazing. And you and your friends
Okay.
put this
house
together.
churches and everything. Yeah.
From a guy who said, I don't really want to go to the
I
retreat.
don't really want to go to the retreat. Yeah. But yeah, so we have everything, and God has provided everything what we need. We had a sound system that needed some love, you know,
Yeah.
we needed to fix it. And there is a guy who has a big audio company, and he was like, I have a new set of speakers that might be good here. We can try them. And we were like, sure, we can try them and see how we pay them. So we put them, and they sound amazing. They were brand new speakers, and we were like, and how much is that? He was like, just give me the old ones.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how
Yeah.
the little town in Hoyba is getting audio equipment companies and everything
Yeah.
else to
Yeah.
sort of show up with
Their church is very high tech. Like
It's
compared to
high-tech.
some of the other ones that we visit, their church is very modern, very
Yeah.
high tech.
Yeah,
It
we
is
have-
very similar to churches we see today.
God has provided everything, including the people.
Yeah.
They are guys. They are amazing designers.
Yeah.
People that had worked in audio systems and all that stuff, and cameras, designs. So we have screens, and we have paid for like very few things of,
Yeah.
of all what we have.
Yeah, I mean, when you know it's God when you see those things happening.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. Like the only doubt is your own doubt. Like, because I mean, on the paper it says, look, this guy didn't believe in Jesus. He did. He started talking to other people about Jesus, and people started coming from everywhere
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
filling up his bedroom. He had to move to the living room and out to the
Yep.
backyard, you know. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden,
Yeah.
you get a magical building, not magical, but supernatural building from
Yeah.
Jesus.
Supernatural,
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he fills it up with all this stuff.
Yeah.
Then when families came, we were struggling with kids because kids are noisy and they want to have fun.
Yeah,
you know?
sure.
And we were like, we need a place for kids. So a couple of people that love kids were taking care of them, like in the lobby of the place.
Yeah.
And then the owner was like, the people who's living in the house next, it's my house. So they're going out because they don't pay. You want that place?
Yeah.
Sure.
And it's connected. And it's connected
It's
to the
connected.
church.
So
So.
he fixed the place. He opened a door, so the church is connected. We have a huge yard for the kids. We have classrooms for the kids. We have
So
a
cool.
cafeteria there. All from God.
What do you guys call it?
Reset.
Reset.
It was a youth group name.
Yeah.
Because we
Yeah.
wanted to do something like where people comes and restart their lives.
Oh,
Everything. So we were like, what name?
so good.
Reset. Reset. Let's do Reset. We didn't know that it was gonna be a church, but we kept the name.
I think it's a great name for a church.
Yeah.
And so, is this what made you sort of look at them and be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
this is
So that day at the hotel, whenever we met,
yeah.
they were filming a video for their youth group whenever it still met in his house. And that caught us off guard because we work with a lot of the indigenous people. We work, like I was describing you earlier, in the mountains and stuff. So we don't always see the high-tech stuff.
Right,
We
yeah,
And-
had
so
cameras, lights, and all that stuff.
So they were like recording and
Yeah.
making like this big production, and we were like, what are you guys doing? And then they started telling us, oh, we have a youth group.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we had been praying for, because I have a heart for kids, and a lot of the other people with Send Me have a heart for the widows and the elderly who are helping. But what do we do about the people in between?
Right.
And my peers at that time and all of that stuff, we just didn't know what to do about that. And so we'd been praying, and then here they come with all of their cool equipment that that attracts teenagers so
Sure
much,
does.
and they know how to serve them. And we're like, well, let's partner together. And so
And we had a band.
they had
We
a
played with
band.
them.
So they started playing
worship
worship.
band
Yeah, they started playing worship at the school that we worked at. We did like a fun, carnival day, and they came and played worship, and the
So
kids
cool.
just had like the time of their lives because it was a live band. And that's kind of the first time we ever served together. And then from there on, we just, continued serving together in different aspects. And even just this trip I just went on, people from his church that I had never met who have a heart for missions got to come with our team from Cross Point, and our heart was to invest in local leaders who have a calling but aren't sure what their direction is. So people from their church got signed up. We had 15 people, 6 from his church, I think. And then we just got to invest in them. So even still now we're working with them. So these leaders got to work with the kids and do the outreach and do the evangelism. And it wasn't just us doing it. It was us praying for them while they went and did it. And so anyway, there's all kinds of like
It's really cool.
partnerships that we've done with them and over the years. But I remember like speaking at his youth group whenever it was up in his top floor.
Yeah.
And we thought this is the coolest thing, and now they have a church. And
Yeah.
we went there just last Sunday. I was there, and they're